everyone, it's Elena, and today I'll be talking to you guys about what UWC taught me. And for UWC, there's obviously the experience of the 2 years, and that is already like good enough of a reason to join. But UWC also claims to have a lifelong impact on its students. So I wanted to tell you guys what I think I took from UWC as a recent graduate. Now, obviously, I haven't lived very long without UWC. I mean, I just graduated like 3 months ago. So, you know, this is only what I think I got out of it, but yeah. Maybe I should do like an updated version of this in like 3 years down the road and see if I would still say the same. But for now, this is what I think I learned from my UWC experience. Now, the first thing that I learned is that there's so much more to countries than what is presented in the newspapers. And I think this is such an important lesson that theoretically we all know, but we don't really live according to it. Because so many of us, you know, when we think of certain countries, we just think of what we know about it in the press. Like, for example, what do you think about when you think about Yemen? Probably the Yemeni civil war, but I had friends from there, and you know, I learned so much more about Yemen than just about that civil war. Like, I learned about Yemeni culture, like their dances, their food, how they interact with one another, and that just gives you so much more of a sense of what it really means to live in that country rather than just knowing the newspaper articles. Being informed is really important, don't get me wrong here, keep reading your newspapers, but it's also really important to get a sense of what it's like to live in that country as an individual, and it makes you so much more open when you meet new people, when you keep that in mind, because you just go into a conversation thinking, I want to learn more about their country, I want to know what their culture is like, I want to know what it means to really live there. And I think that just, you know, makes conversation so much more interesting and more meaningful. So yeah, I think this is really one of the most important lessons that I learned from my time at UWC. The second thing UWC taught me is the value of debates and of controversial opinions. Now, I was a debater before I came to UWC, and I already had appreciated a lot of the value in conversations and in disagreements, but when I came to UWC, that really took it to another level, because we had something called Global Issues Forum, where the entire school came together and we discussed current issues. And you know, some people have very controversial opinions on these, and you know, sometimes the entire room would just go like, what did that person just say? But it's really important that you have these conversations, because you need to voice controversial opinions in order then to be able to discuss them. And you know, you have students at UWC who were raised in a very different environment and who had very different values instilled in them as you did. And I think it's really important that, you know, you learn to see where people are coming from, why they believe a certain thing, and then you need to evaluate whether maybe they're not as wrong as you thought they were. And very often what we found was that nobody was really wrong on it. You know, we just looked at it from very different perspectives, because especially when you're discussing global issues, you know, it affects countries in different ways, and while it may have a very positive effect on your country, it may have a very negative effect on someone else's country. And that's something that, you know, made me appreciate having a debate, and also, you know, not scaring people away when they have an unpopular opinion, because very often, you know, students get afraid to say, oh, I think this is a different thing, when the entire rest of the class is like, oh no, it's this. But at UWC, you know, disagreement is valued. Now, the first thing I learned from UWC is a little bit more personal and less like general and philosophical, and it's that it's really important to speak up for yourself. And I guess this is something we all know as well, but in UWC I also learned how to speak up for myself, and you know, to just do it. Because when you live in a boarding school environment, there will be a lot of things that you will not be comfortable with. These may be things that your roommates do, these may be things that the people living next to you do, or you know, just literally, it can be anything. And you know, at home it's really easy to say that because it's just your mom and your dad, and yeah, it's just, you know, you're comfortable with these people. But then in boarding school, all of a sudden you're with all these strangers, and especially in your first year, you're really scared of, you know, saying, oh, I don't like this, because you don't want to offend anybody or, you know, make your roommate hate you on the first day. So actually, this is something I really learned in my second year, that it's really important to say, I don't want this, or, you know, I would prefer if we could find a compromise on this thing. And I always used to be so shy to say these things, but it's actually, you know, not a big deal. Nobody thinks you're a bad person because you don't like having music at midnight or whatever. Like, you just have to say it in a nice way and find a compromise that works for everybody. And you know, there are issues where you think you can't find a compromise, but you always can. And you just have to say it, because you know, if you're just like inside yourself and being like, I hate that she does that, but I'm never telling her, then this person can never know that she's annoying you for like an entire year, and it's not fair to them and it's not fair to you. So just speak up for yourself, say I don't like this, do it in a friendly way, and say, can we find a compromise on this so that we can both be comfortable in this room, or so that we can both be comfortable on this floor, or you know, whatever context you're talking in. The fourth thing that UWC taught me is that I can have an impact regardless of how experienced or how old I am. And this is something I didn't really believe in when I came to UWC, because I always thought, you know, if you want to have like a real impact somewhere, you know, you got to be really experienced, you got to know what you're doing, and you got to be an adult, because otherwise nobody respects you. When you're at a UWC, you're surrounded by like 250 people who are like super engaged with their communities, who want to do a lot of things for the people they're living with, and who are willing to volunteer a lot of their time and, you know, to learn a lot more in order to get better at helping people. And that just inspires you as a person to then, you know, also help these people and also become more engaged. Like, I realized that when I was at UWC, I felt like, oh my god, I also want to do something, because everybody here is so engaged, and I don't want to be, you know, like the girl who doesn't do anything. It's not like peer pressure, it's more like they inspire you to do it too, because you see, you know, how rewarding it is for them and how much they're getting out of it. And I don't really know how to describe this, but it's really more an inspiration. It's not like anybody pressures you to do anything. That's absolutely not the case. I mean, there are students at UWCs who have founded their own NGOs before they were 18. And you know, that's kind of crazy, but it's really cool as well. And you can learn so much from these people. So if you're going to UWC, you know, that's really something I would encourage you to do. Talk to these super engaged people, because, you know, you often think you don't have time for these things. But actually, when you just sign up for it and you say, I'm going to commit to going there every week, regardless of what happens, you'll realize you have time. You just have to make the time for it. And, you know, if you make time for something, you will have an impact. And I think I also learned how important it is that you use that ability to have an impact, because after all, you know, you can have an impact, but you gotta do something to actually have that impact. So use your time and, you know, go out there and volunteer, or go out there and, you know, start a social media movement. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. And that's something, you know, that I never realized until I was there and I was surrounded by people, you know, who had been told the same things, that, oh, you're too young, or you're not experienced enough in this field. And, you know, they just went ahead and did it anyway. And it worked. And at UWC, you have so much support from your teachers, from the staff, from everyone. So if you want to start a project, you can just do it. That is literally what my friends who are currently in their first year at Uwc United World College did, because they founded a project to raise awareness about the illegal detention of asylum seekers in Malaysia. It's called I'm Not a Criminal. If you guys want to know more about their project, I'm going to link it down below. And it's really inspiring to just see people your age doing something like that. And you know, they don't do it because they get paid for it or anything, because they don't. They do it because they genuinely want to make a change in this world, and they want to make a difference to people's lives, and they are dedicating a lot of their time to that project. And that's something that any student out there can do. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about in this video that UWC taught me is how important it is to get out of your comfort zone in order to grow. You know, you still have the ability to, you know, grow a little bit in terms of, you know, the person you are, not in terms of height, because God knows there is no hope for me on that one. But you know, you can grow in terms of your resilience and, you know, how ready you are to face challenges. And yeah, I think just generally resilience is the right word here, because UWC will push you out of your comfort zone every once in a while. You may actually be out of your comfort zone the moment you open the room to your dorm room, because if you're like me and you have been an only child, then living with 3 other girls is a challenge. And you know, you will adapt to it, and after a week or so it will be absolutely fine. But at the start it may be uncomfortable. But you know, this will just make you be more resilient, and it will make you learn to deal with situations like that. I remember that after my first year at Uwc United World College, I went off for 2 months in California. I had never been to the US before, and I was about to meet a new roommate, and I had to get some stuff in that city that I'd never been to, and I wasn't scared, because I was like, you know what? I think I can handle this. Like, I have handled moving to Hong Kong on my own, and I think I'm ready for that challenge. And I was absolutely ready for it. And I think the fact that, you know, I had confidence in myself just helped me go through it. And that moment when I was in California after like a week and I realized I hadn't really been struggling to settle in, it made me realize how much I as a person had grown, because I remembered moving to Hong Kong and being super scared, super anxious about everything. And that really contrasted with how I behaved when I moved to California for 2 months, because it really showed me how much I had developed in terms of, you know, how much I trust myself and how ready I am to just go out and explore, even if I have no idea where I am. I hope I explained this in a good way. I don't know if it came across, I hope it did. But yeah, those are all the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about regarding what UWC taught me, and I hope that this gives some of you guys an idea of what it really means when you're at an UWC and then when you leave, and how much of an impact it has on its students, because I think it just has a huge impact. And these are by no means all the things that I learned at UWC. I could make like a 10-hour video and I would still not be done with all the things that I've learned there. So, you know, I really had to pick and choose, and I chose these because I think these are some, you know, like bigger things that I think every student experiences. And there's a lot of things that, you know, I also learned personally. I don't know if they would apply to every student, but I think they would apply to a lot of students. But yeah, generally, like reflecting, I think those 2 years taught me so much, and I don't think I could have learned the same had I just stayed in my school in Germany. So, you know, I'm super grateful for having had this experience. And yeah, I hope this helps some of you guys with, you know, realizing what it really means if you get a UWC experience. And yeah, if you guys have any questions about UWC or have any video suggestions, you know, anything you'd like to know about UWC, feel free to comment them or message me for the contact section of my blog, which is linked in the info box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!